It is indeed a tragedy, my Lord, that I meet people with suffering and pain. But it is also my great fortune that you have given me this opportunity to help them in such moments. You have cast upon my shoulders this great responsibility. Please grant me the strength to fulfill this task of yours. Let me always remember that it is only you that is the great healer, and I only the medium through which your healing flows. O Lord, bestow upon my patients your healing touch. When I was in class 7 or perhaps class 8, my grandmother became very ill with heart disease. I had absolutely no idea about medicine. My father was a professor of accountancy in St. Xavier's College in Calcutta. My mother was a school teacher before she got married. No one in my family, either from my father's side or from my mother's side, has ever been a doctor. But somehow this disease that my grandmother went through, my mother looked after her diligently, and I was also involved in her care. We had a wonderful family physician who had his clinic just across the road, and he used to come and see my grandmother. And I was absolutely fascinated by what he did for my grandmother. Ultimately, she passed away, and perhaps this was when, unconsciously perhaps, I decided that I wanted to become a doctor. When I said this to my father, he said, "Son, no one in my family has ever been a doctor. I don't know how I can help you in this field because I don't know anything about this. If you become a chartered accountant, I can get you the best jobs that is there in Calcutta." But I became a doctor, and that was how I became a doctor. While pursuing my studies in NRS Medical College in Kolkata, me and two friends of mine, Tushar Roy and Tapan Sinha, we used to go and visit patients early in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, 7:30 in the morning, before our classes started. And there were so many cases, so many patients to see, but ultimately we found that we were landed up and seeing more and more of cardiology cases. So although in those days in Calcutta, in NRS Medical College, Calcutta, the best professors, the best doctors were actually the gynecologists. And most of the gynecologists at that time were males. And we used to see how gently they used to handle their patient, how diligently they used to do their job. And I was absolutely fascinated by the male gynecologists of Calcutta. Almost so that I almost became a gynecologist. But somehow this love for cardiology broke through, and I ultimately went into the field of cardiology. I finished my MBBS and I was working in Woodlands Nursing Home. And one day, while sitting there, perhaps around 11:30 in the morning, having a cup of tea because we had finished our morning rounds, Dr. Sanjay Seal walks in and he tells me that, I was passing through Delhi because by that time I had given the All India examination for MD into medicine. He said, I was passing through Delhi and you got selected in Delhi and your name is number 5 in the All India list. I told him, "See Sanjay, this is not something to joke about, really. This is a serious matter." He says, No, I'm absolutely serious. Why don't you go? So the next day I took a train and came here. And that also was a life-defining moment. Because to a Calcutta boy living in the streets of Calcutta, if you had told me that I would spend the rest of my life in Delhi away from Calcutta, I would have laughed at it. But here I am in Delhi. Because of that life-changing moment, I came here, I got admission into MD medicine. I came here in 1987 and I've been here ever since. That was a life-changing moment for me. Another one was when after I'd finished my MD from Maulana Azad, Delhi University, I did my DM in cardiology from PGI Chandigarh, was an assistant professor there, and then went off for a short period of time to Saudi Arabia and then to England. So I was in England as a fellow in invasive cardiology at Leeds General Infirmary. And I was staying at a hospital called Cookridge Hospital. That was a cancer hospital. But on top of that, they had a few rooms. I was staying in one of the rooms. My wife, who is currently the professor and head of pharmacology at Maulana Azad Medical College, was at that time just an assistant professor in MAPSI. And so she was in Delhi. I was there in Leeds. Monday to Friday was absolutely fun. There was no problem whatsoever. The systematic way that they run the things there is absolutely fantastic. But the moment Friday evening came, I used to have a fear in my heart because I was absolutely alone and I was absolutely lonely. And I used to walk the streets because it was on the outskirts of Leeds. So the moment you walk 5-10 minutes, you are out into the fields, horses, cows. But then after some time, it just came into me. I understood at that time what was loneliness. And therefore, at that moment of time, that was a life-defining change. I decided that I will come back to Delhi. So I came back in 2000. This boy who is from the streets of Calcutta is very much comfortable in the streets of Lucknow, in the streets of Old Delhi, in the streets of Benares, but found himself to be lonely and isolated in the sterile streets and the clean streets of Leeds. So that was how my journey became, and from 2000 I am here in Delhi at National Heart Institute, and I have now set up my own clinical practice here at Roy Heart Care Clinic here in New Delhi. So that has been my journey and how I came into this field of medicine, how I came into this field of cardiology, and how I ultimately came back and settled down in Delhi. There has been several other aspects which might be different from others. And one of them is in my fondness for books. If you see around you, you'll see lots and lots of books. I wasn't a very good student in school. In fact, in my higher secondary, out of 32 boys in our science class in St. Xavier School in Calcutta, out of 32 boys, I was number 7 in my higher secondary examination. Six of the boys before me either did engineering or did something else, and they went off to United States, etc. I was the 7th. But we had a very good library in our school, and there I used to pick up storybooks, non-fiction storybooks. So I lived in the world of Enid Blyton, of the famous 5 and the Find Outers and the Secret 7 and Biggles in his Flying Machine, and then I graduated on to Daphne du Maurier, Nicholas Montserrat. If you haven't read it, you must read his books. A.J. Cronin, another beautiful writer, Somerset Maugham. So I was living in this world of books. Of course, I was very poor. I didn't have much money, so I couldn't buy books on my own. So when I came to medical college, I had a friend of mine who's still my friend. He's a friend for almost 45 years, Dr. Shoibal Chakraborty, who's now in Calcutta working as a cardiologist. He introduced me to Soviet books. At that time in College Street in Calcutta, Mir Publishers used to have a bookstore, and they had rows and rows of books, beautifully bound books, very cheap price. And that I could afford to buy, so I started buying those books. And so my repertoire increased from fiction to geology, science, quantum mechanics, and so on and so forth. And then I had this wonderful opportunity of coming to Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi. And you know, Maulana Azad Medical College is situated right opposite Daryaganj. And on Sunday in Daryaganj, there was this old book Mela that used to happen every Sunday. And with 200 rupees in my pocket, I used to go there every Sunday and pick up 3 or 4 books, old books. And that was how I was introduced into so many other topics. And of course, as I started affording, I then started buying books from Amazon and from other sources. So my love for books, and I always spend maybe 2 to 3 hours every day reading something or the other from my books.